He wanted to crush her. That was the real reason he sent the invitation. Not out of civility, not for closure, but for show. Daniel, the tech billionaire with magazine covers, private jets, and a self-obsessed influencer bride, thought he could parade his success in front of the one woman who knew him before the spotlight ever touched his name, Naomi, his ex-wife. He imagined her arriving quietly, alone, maybe embarrassed by how far behind she'd fallen. He imagined the pitying glances she'd get from guests and how good it would feel to watch her flinch when she saw his perfect new life. It was all part of his twisted plan to feed his ego one last time. But Naomi didn't come alone. As the grand doors of the wedding venue opened, Naomi stepped in wearing a sharp black gown and heels that clicked like confidence. She looked breathtaking, elegant, composed. But what made the room fall silent wasn't her entrance. It was the two little boys walking beside her, holding her hands. Two boys, no older than 4, in matching tuxedos, with piercing blue eyes and jawlines far too familiar to be coincidence. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Their presence shouted the truth loud enough to stop the music. Daniel's smirk disappeared instantly. Guests began whispering, tilting their heads, glancing between the boys and the groom. The resemblance was undeniable. Eyes, hair, even the way the twins stood. One foot slightly forward, arms at their sides like they owned the place. It was Daniel, duplicated, in miniature form. The new bride, Sky, blinked rapidly, as if trying to compute what was happening. Murmurs started spreading like wildfire. Some guests started filming. Others stared in silence. Daniel's parents exchanged horrified looks. And Daniel? He looked like a man watching his empire collapse in slow motion. But to really understand the weight of that moment, you need to know where it all began. Before the fame, before the money, Daniel had nothing. No friends, no confidence, just a laptop, caffeine, and a crazy dream of building something huge. Naomi had met him during those early days. She was the one who stuck with him when no one else saw his potential. She was the one who cooked dinner while he coded through the night, edited his proposals when investors wouldn't return his calls, stood by him through every rejection. She didn't love the startup. She loved the man building it. They married in their late 20s, struggled for a few years, lived on microwave noodles, shared dreams of someday. Then Daniel's app took off. He became the tech world's golden boy overnight. Money came fast. So did the arrogance. Meetings replaced conversations. Naomi's questions became divorce papers and walked away. She thought that was the end. But a month later, life hit her with something she never saw coming. She was pregnant. The doctor didn't even need a second scan. Twins, she said with a smile. Naomi, still dazed from the divorce, felt a surge of emotions. Shock, fear, but strangely, peace. She tried to tell Daniel. She called, emailed, even wrote letters. Nothing. Then came the legal notice. Daniel had filed a restraining order preventing her from contacting him again. As if she were a threat, rather than the mother of his unborn children. Whether he knew or not didn't matter. He made it clear. He wanted her out of his life. So she raised Leo and Eli alone. No child support, no press interviews, no revenge campaign. Just late nights, scraped knees, and bedtime stories. And every day, those boys started looking more and more like the man who had abandoned them. It would have been easier if they hadn't, but Naomi never blamed them. She just promised herself, if the day ever came, when truth met arrogance again, she'd be ready. And then 3 years later, the invitation arrived. Embossed gold lettering. a wedding at the most luxurious resort in the city, and a handwritten note from Daniel that read, "I thought you'd enjoy seeing what a real wedding looks like." It wasn't a wedding invite. It was a slap in the face. But Naomi didn't tear it up. She folded it carefully, tucked it into her drawer, and said nothing until the day arrived. She didn't plan a scene, didn't contact the press. She just dressed the boys in custom tuxedos, picked a sleek black gown for herself, and walked into that wedding like she belonged there. When she reached the front of the ceremony, she handed Daniel an envelope. He opened it slowly, hands trembling. Inside were DNA results. Dated, verified, irrefutable. His eyes scanned the papers. 99.9999% paternity match. Leo and Eli, his sons. The bride dropped her bouquet. One of the guests gasped audibly. Another muttered, "Holy shit!" under their breath. Someone live-streamed the whole thing. Within minutes, clips started hitting social media. People tagged news outlets. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag billionaire baby bomb. Hashtag wedding gone wrong. Hashtag Daniel has kids. Daniel stood frozen. Sky turned to him, voice shaking. "You told me you didn't have kids." He couldn't answer. Naomi leaned in, softly, so only he could hear her. "You wanted to show me what I missed out on? Today, I gave the world a look at what you threw away." Then she turned around, took Leo and Eli's hands, and walked out with quiet grace. No shouting, no revenge speech, just the truth. And it shattered everything Daniel had built on his lies. By that evening, media outlets had picked up the story. His PR team went into full panic mode. Stockholders started calling. Sky left the honeymoon suite alone. Her lawyers reviewed the prenup, which had a clause about concealed offspring. The clause was now activated. Daniel made a public statement claiming he had no prior knowledge and promised to build a relationship with the children. But the internet wasn't buying it. And Naomi? She didn't respond to interview requests. She didn't release a statement. She didn't even post anything online, because she didn't have to. She said everything she needed to, by walking in, holding her head high, and letting the truth do what truth always does, speak for itself. Daniel planned a wedding to embarrass her, but he ended up hosting the press conference for his own destruction. The irony? She never raised her voice. She never took $1. She never even said he was a bad father. Because she didn't need revenge. She had something stronger, reality. And 2 little boys who stood as proof that no matter how powerful someone becomes, some truths will always catch up, even if they're only 3 feet tall and wearing little tuxedos.